The night before my wedding, love felt certain, until a bitter secret in my own house turned the aisle into a deadline I couldn't escape. What happened in those missing hours would force me to choose between silence and survival, and it would make my family choose too. You're watching Revenge Files. Subscribe for a new twist daily. I woke on May 27, 2023, to a pillowcase dusted with hair like ash and the raw, wrong breeze of the air conditioner across my scalp. My jaw hurt from sleeping too hard. My tongue tasted like chalk and honey. A wedding day, they say, begins with birds and light. Mine began with the absence of sound in my own head, a buzzing void where hair should be. I staggered to the bathroom of our little Raleigh bungalow and flicked the light. The mirror showed a stranger, my head shaved down to tender stubble, soft pink skin nicked near the crown. My veil lay folded on the vanity like a joke someone had abandoned halfway. For a moment I tried to make a movie cut in my brain. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe a crew would jump out shouting surprise. No one did. I remembered tea the night before, chamomile with a sweet, powdery aftertaste. My mother, Marianne, had pressed the mug into my hands. "Calm your nerves, Lena," she'd said. My father, Greg, had hovered, that managerial half-smile on his face. They'd let themselves in early under the excuse of delivering cake stands. I'd been too busy checking vendor invoices in the seating chart to push them out. One problem? I don't get nervous, and I'd already told them that. Noah texted at 7:12 a.m., a simple heart and a "you up?" He was at his brother's place, where tradition and convenience said he should be. I stared at my reflection and typed, "I need 20 minutes. Then I'll call." I hit send, swallowed bile, and started counting the cuts in the plastic razor on the counter. It was my father's brand, the travel version he brings to every business trip. There was still a smear of my hair caught under the hinge. But then I heard them. My parents, whispering in the kitchen like burglars in daylight. The back door was open. Coffee steamed. I had not given them a key to this house. They still had the emergency copy from when I broke my ankle 2 years ago. The wedding was at St. Joseph Chapel at noon. It was 7:18, and my sister Tess was late by habit, so I assumed she wasn't here yet. I was wrong. I found her voice before I found her face. A sound file blinked in the muted family thread I usually ignore, a voice note from 12:43 a.m. I pressed play. Tess's voice, tight with anger and whiskey, filled my bathroom. "Cut her hair, or lose me forever. She won't listen, you do it. Tonight?" The recording ended with a clatter, like a phone tossed on a counter. There it was. The order, boneless and slick. I airdropped it to my laptop, then backed it up to a thumb drive I keep for contracts, except I still had a wedding to show up for. I could cancel, hide, or walk into that chapel with the truth on my head. I pulled the silk wrap from my veil box and tried a turban, then a low knot. None of it looked like me. The mirror gave no mercy. I had an idea that felt like a cliff jump on a dare. I unwrapped, rinsed my face, took a breath that hurt my ribs, and let the stubble show. "You're fine," I told the stranger in the mirror. "You are not your hair." I stepped into the hallway. My mother gasped like someone had pointed a gun. My father said my name like a warning. Tess, in Lulu shorts and a smug, bachelorette hangover hoodie, made the mistake of smiling. "Well, look who's finally practical," she said. I lifted my phone and hit record. "What did you give me?" I asked. "In the tea?" My mother's eyes flicked to the sink. "Chamomile. You needed sleep. There's a sedative taste," I said. "The kind you crush. The kind a toxicology screen picks up." My father's jaw flexed. "Don't be dramatic, it was your decision. We only helped." "Say that again," I said, holding the phone a little higher. He didn't. They both went still, like deer hearing the click of a safety. The hair on the counter was louder than anyone in the room, until I remembered the vendor email. I had an AV guy at the chapel for the processional music and a slideshow of childhood photos. A sweet idea Noah's mom insisted on. If I wanted a room to know a secret, I suddenly had a screen and speakers. It would cost me nothing but courage. I called Noah in the bedroom with the door closed. He picked up on the first ring. "Morning," he said, voice already smiling. "Something happened," I said. "It's awful. I'm okay. I need you to trust me for 2 hours. Meet me outside the chapel at 11:40 with your brother." Silence, then breath. "Are you safe, Lena?" "I will be," I said. "I'm bringing the truth with me." He didn't press for details. That's why I was marrying him. "I'll be there," he said. I grabbed the cup from last night, the tea bag, the trash bag with the razor and hair, and slid everything into a gallon zip. I took photos of the bathroom and the clock on the stove. Evidence feels cold, but it's a kind of blanket. I threw on the suit-cut crepe dress I'd picked up for the rehearsal but never wore. No veil, no wrap. I slicked balm across my lips and texted the Chapel Ave. Urgent. Need to add one audio clip before ceremony. I'll be there by 11:20. He replied, got you. I could have called the police right then. I didn't. I wanted faces when truth landed. I wanted the silence to belong to me for once. By 10:05 I was in the passenger seat of my neighbor's car, stomach tight. The neighbor's name is June. She has a toddler who sleeps light and a minivan that smells like crackers and lavender sanitizer. She looked at my head, then at my eyes. Do I need to punch someone? She asked. Maybe later, I said. Just drive me to St. Joseph, please. The chapel is red brick with long windows and a sound system better than anyone expects. The AV tech, a kid named Eli with calm hands, took my thumb drive with Neutralize and plugged it in. We can play a clip right at the doors, he said. It'll pick up house mics too. Perfect, I said. I showed him the file name. He didn't ask what it was. He saw enough brides to know which questions are booby-trapped. I also opened my email and sent a copy to myself and to a new folder labeled Wedding, Evidence. I wrote the subject line like a court exhibit. I wasn't thinking of court yet, but my brain is a project manager. It packs parachutes even when you don't ask. I texted Noah a selfie under the foyer light, bald and bare and smiling the smile you practice for doctors. Still me, I wrote. His typing bubbles came and went. Always you, he sent back. Guests started arriving at 11:15. Friends from UNC Health. My aunt with a nervous laugh. A cousin who thinks every life event is her audition for a show that doesn't exist. My parents came in a cluster with Tess at 11:24, all three in formal wear now, faces scrubbed of guilt, like the right outfit ironed behavior flat. They saw me across the foyer and stalled as if the floor had turned to glass. My mother glanced at my head like a thing that had bitten her. I watched them choose their seats, the front pew, of course, the first three ends earmarked by my mother's sticky notes earlier in the week. I let them sit. I wanted them comfortable. I wanted gravity to do the rest. At 11:58, the doors to the nave closed with a soft click. Eli lifted a thumb. I nodded. The prelude faded. I stood in the vestibule with June and Noah's brother on either side like calm bookends. The ushers straightened. The room quieted in a way you feel on your skin. I thought of my scalp and the sensation of air. It helped. The chapel doors opened. People turned. Silence moved through rows like a wind that forgot its voice. A few gasped, the reflex honest and unpolished. I walked forward without flinch. But then the audio started. My sister's voice, clean, amplified, viciously casual, poured from the speakers. Cut her hair or lose me forever. She won't listen, you do it. Tonight, a little clatter, and no commentary, no apology, no context, just that. I stopped on the third step and faced the pews. My mother's hand flew to her pearls. My father reached for his program and gripped it like a life ring. Tess went pale in real time, the blood draining from her face exactly like in the movies she quotes. She stood, then sat, then stood again, trapped by her own body. You did it, I said, so everyone could hear. You drugged me and shaved me while I slept. My mother whispered, Lena, please. No, I said. This is my wedding, and this is the truth. I turned to Noah at the altar. He looked at me like the world had changed shape and his job was only to hold the steady parts. If you want to step away, I would understand, I said softly, though the mic caught it anyway. He shook his head. We're getting married, he said, and the quaver in his voice didn't diminish the steel. Hair grows. Vows are now. The room exhaled. A few people cheered, quiet at first, then sure. The pastor, Reverend Cole, bowed his head, as if he'd missed the rehearsal for this part. We'll proceed, he said, voice even. Except we didn't let my family proceed with us. I turned to the usher and then to Officer Daniels, the off-duty cop the venue hires for parking who'd stepped inside to see the commotion. Please escort Marianne, Greg, and Tess Hart to the lobby, I said. They're not invited to this portion of the day. It wasn't the smartest legal choice I made that month, but it was the one that made the room safer. They didn't fight. They were too busy calculating. We were married under sunlight that found the dust a florist had stirred and made it art. We kept the homily short. I slid a band across Noah's knuckle and said vows that didn't once mention hair. My scalp tingled. People cried for the right reasons. After the recessional, while friends showered us with biodegradable confetti that sticks less to lipstick, I gathered my evidence bag and headed to WakeMed Urgent Care with Noah and June. The nurse's eyebrows climbed when I explained, but her voice stayed professional. Chain of custody blood draw for a toxicology screen, I said, sounding like a stranger in a lab coat. I paid $412 cash because the clerk said claims get sticky when you might file criminal charges later. I tucked the receipt into the evidence bag. One problem, the lab said sedative hypnotics like zolpidem clear quickly. We might still catch metabolites within 24 hours. We'll mark times carefully, the nurse said. She did, I did, the form did. Reality turned into a grid of boxes that made me feel less blurry. That night, Noah and I ate tacos at our kitchen table while my scalp stung under the softest beanie I own. We didn't go to the fancy dinner we'd booked. We'll go another night, Noah said, preferably when no one's confessed to a felony on church speakers. We laughed then. It came out raw. We went to bed at 10 like test subjects who had given enough blood. On Monday, May 29th, we walked into the Raleigh PD North District and filed a report for assault, battery, and administering a substance without consent. I handed the evidence bag to a detective named Hartley, who flinched at our shared letters. No relation? He asked, trying for lightness that didn't land. No relation, I said. We signed things. He assigned a case number. He told me straight, these cases can be tough. Domestic contexts make juries weird. Keep your expectations realistic. Realistic is that I'll never drink tea from them again, I said. Everything else is extra. I also called a lawyer that afternoon. Her name is Ava Delgado, partner at Delgado & Pruitt, PLLC. After 10 minutes on the phone, I drove to her office with the rest of my wedding day photos on a flash drive, and the voice note backed up 3 times. Retainer is $8,200, she said. That covers a domestic violence protective order and initial civil filings. If we go further, we'll talk. I don't want to set fire to my life, I said. I want consequences and distance. In that order, good, she said. Court likes clean goals. She filed for a temporary protective order that day, the kind you get ex parte when the judge hears only your side because safety can't wait. The hearing for a full order was set for June 9. 10 days. I wrote it on a post-it and stuck it to our fridge like a grocery list. June 9th, 2 p.m., Wake County. But then Tess tried to salvage her image. She posted a soft focus Instagram story about family disagreements and choosing health, the kind of vapid PR speak she's always loved. She worked as a junior coordinator at a wedding events firm and knew how to spin. Don't engage, Ava said. Screenshots only. I didn't. But I did send a preservation letter to Tess's employer through Ava, requesting they retain all messages involving me for potential litigation. Ava CC'd their general counsel. We weren't stumbling, we were building. On June 2, the lab report came back. Presence of sedative hypnotic consistent with zolpidem detected at low levels, it read, with times stamped and chain of custody initialed in triplicate. It wasn't dramatic. It was enough. Ava added it to our packet and underlined the date and hour. I breathed like I'd been let out of a pool. June 9 came humid and gray. In Wake County Domestic Court, they call cases in a room that smells like old paper and the kind of fear that doesn't make noise. Judge Martinez wore a tie with tiny anchors and eyes like someone who sleeps well, because truth is his hobby. We sat at 2 tables. My parents sat together. Tess sat behind them like a PR firm that had run out of clients. Ava led with the audio. The court clerk's speakers aren't as crisp as a chapel's, but Tess's lines still cut. Cut her hair, or lose me forever. The judge's eyebrows went to an altitude I've only seen on mountain maps. My mother cried into a tissue someone had placed with theatrical neatness. My father asked to speak without a lawyer, always a bad play. It was for her own good, he said. She's always been strong-willed. We needed to create a moment of humility. Judge Martinez looked up slowly. Sir, he said, I will choose my words with care. You administered a sedative and then you shaved your adult daughter's head without consent. That is not a lesson. It is violence. He granted the protective order for 1 year. No contact by any means, no third-party messages, stay at least 300 feet from me, and from our home and my job. He also included Noah by name after Ava asked for it. Given the context, that's appropriate, he said. He ordered my parents to return the emergency key and to surrender any firearms pending further review, which they did on the spot with a bailiff's supervision. The paper felt like a door I could actually lock, except the money still bled. Our wedding vendors had charged rush fees when we moved the ceremony indoors at the last minute because of weather forecasts. The hair and makeup invoice still said bride styling $450, a line item I couldn't delete from memory. My savings account looked like a cliff edge. Ava filed a civil complaint on August 2 for assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and conversion, the last one because I discovered something new. The mid-roll surge, if you want to call it that, landed on August 12 in a bland manila envelope from Ava's paralegal bank statements we'd subpoenaed from a credit union, where my father convinced me to keep a small joint for emergencies back when I moved home during the pandemic. I'd meant to close it, I hadn't. On May 24, 3 days before the wedding, $18,700 had left that account, and landed in an account with my parents' names. The memo line read, Event Consulting TS Deposit. TS was Tess. One problem, I had receipts for my own deposits into that account over 2 years, rent assistance, car repairs. Every dollar was mine. They'd used my money to pay for Tess's brand wedding deconstruction course, or whatever boutique nonsense she'd picked to make herself shinier. I held those statements and felt something colder than rage. It was clarity. It was the opposite of love. Ava amended the complaint to add conversion with numbers that sat like bricks, $18,700 from the account, $31,400 in vendor fees traceable to decisions made under duress, $5,700 for therapy sessions I'd started in June, $8,200 in attorney's fees to date. We asked for $82,500 and an apology letter with specific admissions. We didn't shoot for the moon. We shot for the ledge we needed to stand on. Mediation was set for October 12. We met in a beige room where coffee is always close and hope is always far. A retired judge ran the day like a calm train schedule. My parents tried righteous posture first, then fell back to practical math when the mediator read the line about audio admission and toxicology positive. Tess brought a legal pad and wrote nothing. At noon we broke for sandwiches. Noah squeezed my knee under the table, the way you do when a storm is loud outside, but the roof holds. You're doing good, he said. You're doing right. By 3 the numbers moved like grudging furniture. At 4 we had a settlement. $82,500 to me within 30 days. Itemized exactly as we'd requested. A handwritten apology from each of them, to be delivered with the check. A mutual non-disparagement clause with a carve-out that allowed me to tell the truth if asked. If they defaulted, the mediator would enter the agreement as a consent judgment accruing interest at 8%, with a lien permitted on their house at 12 Oak Mill Drive. Signatures dried. Pens clicked. The retired judge nodded once, the kind of affirmation that doesn't cost a man anything and still matters. But then Tess asked to speak to me in the hallway. Ava stepped out with me, hovered near enough to shape the air but far enough to keep us honest. You ruined me, Tess said, voice low. Do you understand? They'll never look at me the same. You gave the order, I said. I played it. You could have forgiven, she said. You could have asked, I said. You could have left me alone. She stared at my head like a crime scene where the chalk outline was still damp. You look ridiculous, she said, last weapon thrown. I ran my palm across the soft new growth that felt like velvet and stubborn things. I look like me, I said. For once, Tess, that's enough. In November, the check cleared. We used $12,800 to pay off my student loan balance down to zero. We donated $2,000 to a local shelter because you don't come through a storm like this and pretend no one else is wet. Noah bought me a green cashmere hat I wear on early walks when Raleigh smells like pine and fresh asphalt. My hair grew in tight and surprising, a ring of defiance I didn't know could be a crown. The criminal case did what these cases do. It shuffled. The DA offered a plea to misdemeanor assault with probation and an agreement for 100 hours of community service at a women's shelter. I said yes, through Ava, because I was tired, and because punishment should sometimes teach. They took it. The shelter director emailed me 2 months later. They're quiet and they work, she wrote. Sometimes that's a beginning. I kept the protective order for the full year. My phone stayed blessedly bland, no unknown numbers, no gifts on the porch, no apologies in cheap frames. At Christmas, I opened a single card from my parents with 2 lines, "We hope you're well. We're working on ourselves." I put it back in the envelope and filed it in a folder labeled letters, which I keep near the one labeled evidence. You can love the idea of family and still keep a paper trail. People ask if I regret playing the audio at the chapel. You could have handled it privately, they say, soft and scolding. Maybe, But privacy is what kept me polite when I should have been loud. Privacy is what made me drink what I didn't pour. I didn't owe my humiliation a quiet room. Noah still sometimes reaches up and scoops my chin like he's weighing the day. We go to St. Joseph once a month and sit in the back pew under a window that turns dust into glitter. Eli, the AV tech, got a thank you gift card and a note that said, "Thank you for pressing play." He texted back a single line. Anytime, marriage, it turns out, is a series of small decisions that add up to a place where you can sleep with both eyes closed. I keep my beanie in a drawer now, not on a nightstand. I keep the emergency key to our house in a lockbox only I can open. I keep chamomile in the cupboard because I like it, and I make it myself. Sometimes I run my fingers through my hair and feel the places where the razor nicked and my skin learned to forgive. On warm nights, we walk past 12 Oak Mill Drive. The mailbox has fresh numbers, the bushes are cut low. I don't expect penance, I expect distance. That's enough. On our first anniversary, Noah and I stood at the same chapel doors where the audio hung in the air like a bell someone rang too hard. He kissed my forehead and said, "Same team? It's our shorthand, our oath, our answer to rooms that go quiet for worse reasons than microphones." "Same team," I said. Always. I still think about the night before my wedding, about the certainty I wore like a veil before anyone touched a razor. Certainty is a fragile thing. So is hair. But the choice I made at the chapel, the choice to open doors, to let silence work for me, to show what was done, gave me something stronger than certainty. It gave me ground. And when I walk across it now, I can feel the wind on my head and know it's just air, not law.